Observers, listeners, and good afternoon to those who are in Hawaii, which is probably nobody but me. But I am hoping everybody had a good day today. The start of November. We had Halloween yesterday, also known as Samhain. Um, I had a great conversation this morning that I really want to encourage you all to watch with Peter Atwater. He is the author of the book, The Confidence Map, which I still have sitting here on my desk. Can't recommend this book enough. It's so good. Peter was on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. It could have been even a couple of months ago, talking about the confidence map. Peter has another book that's also as good, but if you are needing to just get clarity about, hi Tina, I'm so glad you're here. I think the key for traders and investors is to really get clarity around what is going on for them by way of when confidence is appropriate and when it turns into hubris. It also just helps us understand what's going on internally for us. And look, at the end of the day, you guys have to be able to understand what's happening in the marketplace. And that's part of what Peter's book addresses. But first, we have to understand what's going on for ourselves. And then, of course, it extends beyond. But it's such an incredible conversation. And one of the things he said that I wanted to speak to today was he spoke to how uncertainty, things being unpredictable, is always the way it's always the case. Everything is unpredictable, but he said it becomes more pronounced internally. We feel like, oh, everything is so unpredictable. And he's like, no, it's just when you are feeling defeated and when you have low certainty and low control that you are more in tune to uncertainty. But that uncertainty exists all the time. And when else are we sort of disconnected to the prevalency of uncertainty? I'll tell you, when we have high degrees of certainty and high degrees of control. That is when we think, oh, everything is so predictable, but it still isn't. It's just a mindset. But what we have to see, and this is part of what his book helps us all identify, is that when we are in the lower quadrant, it's a very simple quadrant, guys. This is not technical. This is as basic as it gets, but oh my God, it's so powerful. So he has this 4-squared quadrant, and what he's saying is that this bottom left-hand corner is low certainty, low control, right? That is uncomfortable. When we have low control, when we have low certainty, that is uncomfortable. That was all of us in the pandemic. That was all of us all of you guys, when you have a loss in your trading account, you're experiencing low certainty, low control. But what he says is that we are often, there are other squares here too, but often what's happening and what we're present to is that we're going from that low defeated, low certainty, low control up to the top of where we feel invincible. And if you think about the trader's highs and lows, this is the spectrum that's constantly happening for you guys. And that's why I want you to read this book and to listen to these interviews with him, because it's going to help you be able to identify what's happening for yourself. If you're able to identify what's happening for yourself, then you're going to be able to do something about it. And one of the words that catchphrases he has, when you're in low certainty and low control, you are experiencing, you ready for this? Me, here, now, right? talked in this conversation just now with me, if you're getting attacked by a bear or you're having a heart attack, you're not thinking about the rest of the world. Heck, you're not even thinking about maybe your family or loved ones. You're just like, oh my God, me here now. I have to solve this. I have to whatever. That's going to be that kind of very focused in this immediate moment. But that me here now is appropriate if a bear is attacking you or you're having a heart attack, but that can also be what happens to you when you lose a trade or when the market doesn't go the way you thought it would, or you think, that you didn't expect this loss to come, and there it comes anyway. That is when you're in me here now. So the key is being able to identify it. Hey, Shane, I'm so glad you're here because this book is so good. And this conversation I had with Peter Atwater is so good. But I'm so happy for everybody that's here. So my name is Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street Coach. I do almost every Wednesday a live coaching. I used to do it a little earlier, but it seemed the consensus was to do it this time. So I'm going to try to do it closer to 8 p.m. Eastern. I do want to try to do this on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I can't always. So I decided to take that off the header on YouTube because just my schedule has been really hectic lately. And next week, guys, keep a heads up that I'm not going to be here next Wednesday because of Traders for Cause. I'm flying out on Wednesday to get to Vegas because I am speaking for the second year in a row. Very honored to get there twice to Traders for Cause. So I'll be at that conference. I'll be flying actually on my way to the conference next Wednesday. So there won't be this live coaching next week, but I will try to do something while I'm in Vegas if I can. I'm also going to host 2 trading circles there. So it should be good. Thank you, Shane. Yes, it's such a great group of people. I've had, a lot of clients that attend, but just Zach is the director. Shalhasi puts on an incredible event. Of course, it's Investors Underground, who also puts a lot of time and money into it. Nate Michaud, and a shout out to him and all that him and Investors Underground do. But it's just like so incredible on what they're able to raise by way of monies for the nonprofits they, are supportive of. I also am. What else am I doing? Oh, I'm doing. They put an auction up. You guys can still bid if you want on a VIP half-day experience with me. I think we have one watcher for that right now. And then we also have, there's 2 dinners to have dinner with me. That was auctioned off, but those 2 tickets have been purchased by 2 generous donors. So I'm excited. Thank you, Tina. I'm excited too. It's always good to get off the rock. I live on a big island in the middle of the Pacific. So it's just nice to be in on the mainland and experience they'll have a mall, which we don't really have here. They'll be I could go, to some good cuisine. We have a couple of restaurants here, but not too many. So anyway, that's what's happening for me next week, guys. So help us spread the word. Also, if you're interested in what I have to offer, I hope you'll consider one of my small group coaching. We have one for novices. We have one for sophisticated traders. That's going to launch in a few weeks. And I'd love you to be part of that. We've had one going strong now for 4 or 5 weeks, and that's going to be coming to a close soon. And it was phenomenal. I have to say it was just over the top. Such good traders in those rooms. And I'm honored to do this work with you guys. You guys dig deep and play full out. So let's talk back about this book. But of course, please feel free if you guys have questions, put yours there. Do it, people. You won't regret it. Thank you, Shane. I'm glad. Shane, thank you, Shane, for saying that. I appreciate it. I think it's been pretty great, huh? It's been pretty great. All right. So what I want you guys to really get is that if you're constantly going on this spectrum, what's really helpful about understanding this confidence map for yourself is that when you're defeated, when you feel that sense of not having certainty, not having control, part of what's very powerful at recognizing that is it helps take the sting out of it, because that is a place that we each will go to again and again in our lives. There's an example he gives in the book how most people are in this place of not having any control when they're on an airplane, but they have an experience of certainty until there's turbulence. And then guess what? Everybody is in that lower quadrant where they have no certainty and no more sense of control, right? You're in that bottom box. But part of what Peter suggested is that when we're experiencing that bottom left hand of the quadrant, we need to identify to ourselves, oh, I know where I am. I'm in the me here now box. I'm in a place where I am getting completely triggered. And that at least takes a little bit of the edge off. And that's ultimately what I am advising you guys. Get this quadrant and this map clear for yourselves, because it's going to help you. The other thing he spoke to that I think could be very helpful for all of you is he talks about how when we are feeling that sense of, invincible, like high certainty, high control, he said it would really be good, before you even get into it, to gather all the stories you tell yourself when that's happening for you. So when you have a high degree of certainty and a high degree of control, there are certain catchphrases we all tell ourselves. What are those? Identify those. Put them all down. Like, oh, I'm such a hard worker. That's why I'm in this place. Or I'm so smart. Or I'm finally not being lazy. Or whatever. Like, write them all down, because I think that is so critical. What he's saying is to identify what are the stories you say when you feel like you're on top of the world, and what do you say when you feel like hell, when you feel complete loss of control and a loss of certainty. What are the stories, or likely your gremlin stories, that come kicking up? He said these are like having preset bingo cards. Remember when we played bingo when we were young? Maybe you still play it, I don't know. But when you get a bingo card, it's preset with all the numbers, right? He's saying preset the bingo card of the stories you tell yourself when you're demoralized, and the stories you tell yourself when you feel invincible. Because then when you're in the throes of it, you can look at those cards and be like, oh yeah, this is just a story I tell myself when I feel like crap. This is just a story I tell myself when I think I'm a master of the universe. Both of these extremes, we need to get clear on what the stories are we're telling ourselves, so that we don't get trapped by the story, because the story isn't reality, people. What's happening is a reality, but our story about what's happening rarely is the truth. It's a story we've made up or have brought with us from our past into our current or into our future. All right, Eric says confidence is a conscious realization of an experience. Without experience, fear drives your choices. Eric, on one hand, I think you're correct, but part of what this book helps us to understand is that confidence, Peter's take, is that confidence is informed by certainty and by control. He feels that if we have a sense of control and a sense of certainty, we are going to experience confidence that may or may not be appropriate. So he is trying to help us all see that confidence often is an end result of those two factors. And and this is part of why he does such a great job for all of us to understand what he's talking about by using the pandemic as an example, a whole bunch of historical events. For example, he says that, and this is part of why it's so important for us to understand not just where we're coming from, but also the sentiment that exists out there. Because he said a lot of times what we are basing our confidence on is other people's certainty and control, which isn't necessarily in our best interest. So he gives these two examples that are very powerful. He talks about, I don't know if you guys will remember this story, but there was a tainting of Tylenol pills way back in I guess it was the 80s, late 70s. And basically the CEO of the company that made Tylenol, even though they had narrowed down the fact that it wasn't, it was a particular lot number that got tainted, he decided to remove Tylenol from every shelf. Now, that cost them way more money than it would have, but he did it on purpose because he realized that in that moment, there was no confidence in Tylenol anymore. So it was a great example, Peter said, of being able to reassure people that this brand was trustworthy. And that is part of what Peter's speaking to, is that the trust of a client or trust of a consumer is going to be incredibly impactful on the relationship the customer has, right, with their sense of confidence that the brand will take care of them, so to speak. And then he also tells another story of how on 9/11, it was the head of the FAA, I believe, who made the call to ground all the planes. It just again to show that things were as much under control as they could be under the circumstances. Happy hump day to you too, Dale. Glad you're on the call with Peter. Wasn't it spectacular? He is just, there is so much wisdom, guys, that I feel like I wish I could have a conversation with him for 3 hours, because it was just profound. And also Michelle Wuker, she was my guest co-host today. She is the one who introduced me to Peter, in fact, and her book, You Are What You Risk, is a profound book, guys. You should also read that. Wasn't he, Dale? I think so too. So I hope you guys will have a chance to watch that conversation with Peter, and also watch, I think it's episode 83 that I did with Peter back 2 months ago. That was when this book first came out. I only have 125 views of that conversation, which breaks my heart because, guys, it's absolutely masterful. His conversation in that, we talk about confidence-driven decision-making. So I hope you guys will definitely listen to that too. Dale, it's my pleasure. Look, I want to put in front of you guys the people, the books, the ideas, the tools that are going to help you, serve you. So that's what it's all about. All right, so I want you guys to check out my conversation with him today. And then I want you to check out episode 83, where we talk about confidence-driven decision-making. Let me know, guys, if you have any questions today at all, and then I'll riff on them. I'm going to take a pause, going to take another sip of my coffee. They didn't have decaf. I don't even drink coffee much, guys. Like, every once in a blue moon, I'll have a cup, but I got a latte. But it's got caffeine because they ran out of decaf. So anyway, let's hope I'm not up late. It's 2:30 Hawaii time. So tell me, guys, if you have a question, or you want me to coach you on anything, let me know what's going on for you guys, how your day was, what's up. All right, what else do I want to talk about in this book? I have a couple of other facts. I have a whole bunch of notes because It's just such a profound book. He also talks about how time flies when we're in the upper quadrant. When confidence is high, time will go really fast. When we're in the bottom low quadrant, low certainty, low control, time will drag on forever, which is such a powerful insight, because it just helps us manage when it does feel like it's dragging. Oh, right. It's because I'm in the bottom quadrant. I don't feel I have certainty. I don't feel I have control. The other thing, too, that I want to speak to that he talks about is he talks about the 5 Fs. These are all verbs. Basically, when we're in a panic, when we are really scared, when we are really triggered, these are the feelings that we have. Either fight or flight, but we also will have freeze, where we will just completely shut down. And also we will follow. And what that means is we are more prone when we are in panic. Remember, when we're really in uncertainty and not feeling control, we will follow dictators. We will follow cult leaders. We will follow people who appear to be in the know or confident. Hi, Sandcat, glad you're here. The other thing that happens when we're in panic mode is another F called fuck it. And that is a lot of times, I think, what happens to traders when they're already down and they're feeling loss of certainty and a loss of control. That's when they will just be like, fuck it. And they will just stay in a trade, even though it's turning on them, and they won't get out. So fight, flight, follow. This is when we're more prone to follow dictators or the Hitlers of the world. These are people that when we feel panic, low certainty, low control, we will surrender authority to somebody else because we just are feeling so demoralized. That's how those kind of people get into power. The bullies get into power because too many of us follow them when we're in a panic. We also will freeze. And then we also, as our stress response, will say, fuck it. And that will just make things even worse. So you got to look out for these. I got to look out for these. All right. Tina says, perhaps if one was lax on stopping out to avoid a catastrophic loss and blew confidence, the key to gaining confidence back is to set strict stops and stick to them firmly. I would say yes, Tina, abso-freaking-lutely. Because the being lax on the stopping out, I'm a little just trying to wrap my head around what you said. Perhaps if one was lax on stopping out to avoid a catastrophic loss. So what I think you're saying is that you didn't take the stop. Is that correct? And you wish you did? And that, I'm not sure. Just help me understand it. But the point is, yes, gaining confidence back is absolutely going to be served by you being more strict. Here's the thing, guys. You have to be men and women of your word. You have to be men and women of your word. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's talking yourself out of a stop loss. I don't care if it's saying you're not going to go out with somebody that wasn't nice to you. Yes, I would agree. Discipline does yield confidence, but you know what it really yields? Self-trust. If you guys say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you are completely, what's the word I want to use? Destroying your confidence in yourself. You are destroying the trust you have in the relationship to yourself. I'm not saying you're never going to make a mistake, but hi. I have my tour to my office. Hopefully this little girl just came in to say hello. So anyway, she's like 3 years old. Remember, Andrew sees my story is pretty similar to his. I'm curious what that story is. I know a few stories about Andrew, but I'm not sure that I know the one you're referring to, Tina. But the key here is, yes, getting back to your stop losses, being strict with them, but being a woman of your word to them is key. Because here's the thing, all we are is our word, right? And this, I'm very careful, guys, very discriminatory in what I say I'm going to do. That's part of why I just changed the wording on the YouTube, right? Because even though I say that, I just said that I'm not going to be able to do next Wednesday, next week, and then I'm not always able to do Tuesday, Thursdays, but I'm very vigilant with what I say I'm going to do, because I do believe that everything I say I'm going to do, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, but I am very cognizant of what I say I'm going to do, because I am somebody that does adhere to doing what I say I'm going to do. That is me being my word. And I learned that thanks to Landmark. Landmark Education just absolutely stress the importance of being careful with what you say you're going to do, because if you don't have your trust with yourself, trust in what you say you're going to do, like, just don't say you're going to do something. Like, I'm not telling you have to be perfect, but like, I'm not going to say to people that I swim at 5:30 in the morning if I'm not going to swim. Like, it would be better for me to just not say anything. And that's what I really want you guys to get connected to. So, Tina, I'm more concerned about you saying you were going to do something and then you didn't, because that makes the part of yourself that you're in that relationship with have the trust gets compromised. Like, when we have a guy or a girl that we're involved with and they say they're going to do something and then they don't, what happens? It erodes trust. The most critical relationship, guys, you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And this is why it's so important to earn your trust. I talk about our worthiness can't be earned, but what can be earned? Us being trustworthy. That is something we either earn or don't. And if you guys are saying things to yourself at your trading desk and then not doing it, you are fucking up the relationship you have with yourself. And that one is the only one you're going to have from birth till death. So I want you to be very, very careful that you don't say things you're not planning on doing. Be very, very clear on your word, because it is the foundation of the dynamic you're going to have with yourself. All right, Shane says, when I have a loss and it's due to not following my rules, I get more mad at myself than I would have followed my strategy and failing. 100%, Shane. Totally get that. Totally understand that. Okay, so Tina says that's what happens. Blew all the self-confidence. It's been a struggle. I think I'm on a substantially better path. Still lack of confidence. The confidence is compromised because the trust was compromised. If you now begin to earn back your trust, being very careful with what you say you're going to do for yourself, Tina, then you're going to see your confidence start to come back. But remember too, that your confidence, the concept of confidence is tricky. Like, I could be confident that I'm a singer, but if I have so much confidence that I'm like, why isn't Carnegie Hall calling to feature me? Like, confidence is something that's why I think Peter's book is so good, because he helps us look at confidence through another lens. I think there's a few ways to look at confidence, but your confidence in your strategy shouldn't be dependent on you being confident or not. Personally, your confidence in your strategy is something that gets earned based on it working. Like, if your strategy works, Tina, and you just didn't listen to your own rules, then it shouldn't be that your ultimate confidence in that strategy gets questioned. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. Shane, I just wanted to go back to you, and then Eric, I'll take your statement here. The it's fabulous that you are noticing when you have a loss that's due to you not following your rules. But I would get curious about what those rules are, Shane, and what is in the way, what stops you from being true to your rules. Because there are times when it's possible you have just taken on too much risk and your ability to stay true to your rules is compromised because you're not feeling confident in that strategy. So just be sure to pull apart and understand, to be self-aware enough, Shane, to understand what was happening that caused you to not follow your rules. And Tina, I want to say that to you as well. I want you guys, with as much neutrality as a scientist, to look back and get to the bottom. This is another thing too, right? Let's just talk about if you told somebody you're going to be at their office at 3 p.m. If you left your house at 2:30 and it takes an hour to do the trains and buses or whatever, then that was about you not being in tune to perhaps how traffic works at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? To just beat yourself up for not following, not being a woman or man of your word, at that point is kind of silly, when the real heart of the matter is you didn't take into account the traffic. So this is what I want you guys to do. Yes, I want you to be careful with being a man and woman of your word, but I also want you guys to be, this is not about beating yourselves up. This is about getting to the bottom of what is actually afoot when you break your rules. Were the rules inappropriate to begin with? Do you see what I'm saying? Was you saying, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z, even in the realm of reality to begin with, right? Don't focus immediately just on not being a man or woman of your word. Focus on what happened with your expectations, even in the realm of appropriate. Were you caught up in greed? Were you coming from a place of desperation? Were you coming from a place of fear of missing out? Were you revenge trading? Like, get to the heart of the matter, and then let's identify how you learn maybe a man or woman of your word. But first, look at the trigger. That is very important. All right, let me see here what happened here. Eric says, cut losses quickly is the golden rule. Yet so many people don't follow it. Therefore, they aren't true to their word. I would agree with you, Eric. And again, I want to point people back to what is stopping them from following that golden rule, right? You guys want to get, because just making yourself wrong isn't going to do anybody any good. A lot of us don't do the things we know we should do, but there are reasons for that. And I'm not asking or suggesting or advocating you guys excuse that behavior, but if you seek to understand as opposed to seek to make yourself wrong, you have a better chance at getting unhooked from it. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you to get unhooked from these behaviors. These behaviors, these costly behaviors, happen because there's an invisible layer driving your bus, right? Most of our decisions are being made by unconscious actions, unconscious emotions that are driving us all the time, or the inner saboteur or the inner critic. Inner saboteur, all of those are the same, just different words for the same thing. Understanding what's driving your bus is the key to not being driven. A quote I want to just say, I have to think of it for a second, by Gabor Mate. Even though this is a different topic, it still pertains to this concept. Gabor says in one of his books, specifically says, our culture, our society has a tendency to focus on the addiction, not the reason why a person is choosing to numb, right? Not focusing always on like what you do wrong without focusing on the what it's about is just not going to take you to the place of transcending it. The only way you get to potentially open yourself up to what is happening, what is motivating you, what is costing you, is if you open up the hood to the vehicle that you are and look with neutrality, look with a sense of curiosity and empathy. You've got to have some empathy, guys, when you start to self-reflect. That is critical. All right. Tina says, own the process. Yes, I want you to own the process, but I want you to be sure that it's a proven process. Like, I think there are times when traders think they have a proven process, but it's not actually really that proven. It's what they'd like to be their proven process, but that's not the same as it really actually having the stats behind it. All right, Eric says, scientific method works for trading. The artistry comes in when adapting to changes quickly. I would agree, Eric. I would agree. There is a scientific method that does work for trading. And you have to remember, though, that the human being that is implementing that scientific method is still going to be impacted by their vision, right? At the end of the day, every trader is a human and they are fallible. And that means there are going to be times, and there's also times when even a scientific method is incorrect or you just got unlucky. And that is part of one of the dangers that happens to novice traders, right? Is that you do something wrong and you walk away with money, because that will kind of like impress upon you this feeling of like, oh my God, I wasn't even right and I still made money. And I think that happened a couple of years ago. And that's why we had so many people, blow up eventually, because they didn't realize that it was a crazy bull market. So I'm going to pause there. Eric says, orient, observe, decide, act is great for neutrality too. I think that's true. I really do. Orient yourself to what's happening. Observe. And what I want to say about observe, before you can observe the market, you have to observe yourself. Be sure that you're looking at yourself with as much neutrality as possible. And part of that is identifying where you are on that confidence spectrum. Are you in a place where you feel you have a great deal of control and certainty? If so, you're potentially blinded to some of reality. And if you're feeling low confidence and low control and low certainty, then you're probably in a place of me here now, which means you can't see the big picture and you're possibly going to make a costly choice. All right. And this is another quote from Peter's book that I really like. I have a bunch of quotes written down here. It's psychological, not physical distance that matters. And this is part of what Peter opens up his book with. When the pandemic first began to be reported in the United States about these other countries that were experiencing it, we felt as a nation that COVID wasn't something we had to worry about because it was over there. And what he's saying is that over there felt like a psychological distance. We had this psychological distance to COVID ever coming to us or to our shores, right? But what he said is that within a very short amount of time, there were a couple of things that came forward. One of the things he speaks to is Tom Hanks and his wife getting COVID. That made people in the United States suddenly kind of get slapped in the face with Mr. Actor, who's like the everyman actor. We were like, whoa, it isn't so far away after all. And what he's saying is that this can happen to any of us in the choices we're making. We can at times feel like, oh, well, that happened to them and it didn't happen to me. There is that sense of a psychological distance that we have to watch out for, because again, it's not accurate. It's a false sense of safety, a false sense of confidence when there is this big gap in the distance that we may feel is there psychologically. All right, what else did I want to speak to here? And Eric said, reality distortion field. Apple was famous for it. Consider what you can learn from. Yep, absolutely. So true. All right, let's see here. What was another quote that he has here? Our feelings have confidence, and vulnerability. Maybe two sides of the same coin, but they don't have the same weight. So what he's saying here is that whether we feel confident or whether we feel vulnerable, they are actually two sides of the same coin. But what he's saying is that they don't feel the same. Vulnerability feels heavier. Confidence feels lighter. So this is something that's very powerful for you guys to consider. Notice, and this is again why I'm such an advocate of being in tune to the physicality that you're in the midst of. You physically have to be connected to your body, guys, to be able to notice the difference of these two experiences. If you start to tune in to when you are experiencing confidence, you will notice that there's a lightness to your step. I know for myself, there's a sense of like ease, like a sense of just things being quick, seamless, or not, like there's just less density to an experience. Like, for example, me coming into these lives, right? When I first started, I don't even know when I started. It's all blurred. I don't know, was this a month ago, 2 months ago? Guys, you have to help me when this first started. But when I first started to do this, I was using Restream for the first time. I'm still learning how to use it. But like, I was a little bit more nervous. I was moving slower. I was like, just that feeling of heaviness, because I was like, ooh, I'm feeling more vulnerable. I don't know this platform. I don't know if people's questions are going to come through. I'm not sure if all of my regulars from YouTube are going to see that I'm using this new platform, right? I have all of this vulnerability, right? Today, I had, a few extra minutes. I ran downstairs to get a cup of coffee. Like, there's a lightness to it now for me, because I've done them so many times, because I know that the people that always come are here, and that you guys are always so great to work with. Like, so it's lighter for me. It's like less heavy, because I'm like, yeah, I got this now. It feels good. It feels comfortable. It feels okay. All of that is a different feeling. So I want you guys to tune into that for yourself. Notice what happens when you feel vulnerable physically from the neck down. Notice what feeling confident feels like. Eric says, reminds him of the mirrors in Star Wars. Since we talk about hero's journey, vulnerable versus confidence. Such a good thought there. I love that, Eric. I have to watch Star Wars again. It's been way too long, the whole series. I have to see it again to specifically remember that scene. But that's a great segue. I love it. All right, let me see here. This is another thing that he talked about, was that confidence is, when confidence is low, what did he say? When confidence is low, time, well, standard measurements feels so. Yes, I already spoke to that. The greatest need. Okay. Oh, and here. So I told you before the 5 F's of panic. I want to tell you guys also the 5 F's of extreme confidence, because I want you guys to keep an eye out for both of these, right? Because when you're in the extreme confidence, you're also potentially in a great deal of danger. So here we go. Here are the 5 F's. These are adjectives. When you're in extreme confidence, you have these feelings, or will see these feelings, or will be tempted to move in these feelings. Fantastic, flashy, futuristic, festive, frenetic. There's 3 bonuses too. Fraudulent, fictitious, fake. So when there is extreme confidence, think back to the bull market, guys, right? Think back, not that long ago. What is it now? A year and a half, 2 years ago? We had, everything was fantastic. We were talking about living on Mars. Everything was flashy, right? Everything was festive. Everything was frenetic, right? All of that was afoot because we were extreme. We were all in the midst of extreme confidence. We were seeing people make money that had never made money before, right? That is what's happening when there's extreme confidence. And it can happen in us as well. When we are feeling super confident, that's often when we will blow a lot of cash. When you see things in Vegas, right? When people start to win, they feel, again, that sense of invincibility, right? Flashy, fantastic, focused on the future, festive, frenetic. Those are feelings or adjectives, rather, that will be afoot when we're having extreme confidence. And just for anybody who missed out on the 5 F's of vulnerability, I'm going to read those again. These are the 5 F's when we feel panic, fight, flight, follow, inappropriate leaders, freeze, and or the fuck it mentality. Those are our stress response. Write those down, keep an eye out for them, because when either of these 2 extremes start to show up, guys, you want to be able to identify and be like, oh, there, I just got caught up in one of these 5 F's on the confidence or feeling panic. Very important to recognize. All of this is just about you guys. Oh, I do have this map. So here, I don't know if you're going to see it. I guess I could reverse my screen, but I'm not sure. Actually, I know how to do that. Let's see here. If I can, I will. Let's see. Is there a reversal of the screen? That's what I'm looking for right now. I don't think I see that, guys. Is that there? Let's see here. No, I don't see it. So this will have to do. But I just want to hold this up for you guys because it's so powerful. And I'll just tell you what the words are. So this is the lower left-hand quadrant. Remember, this is reversed right now. This side of the spectrum is control. So everybody write this little square down because it's very powerful. This is control being measured. Down here is certainty. So this is the map. This is the quadrant. The bottom left-hand quadrant is low, low, high, high. So basically, when you have low control, low certainty, you're going to be down here. That was what happened to you, Tina, when you had that loss. This is what happens to anybody when they're experiencing fear, loss, right? They don't have a sense of control. They don't have a sense of certainty. If you are over here where you have high certainty and up here, rather low control, right? That is where we are on a plane, right? Or on a plane, we have usually a high degree of certainty. We trust that the pilot knows what he's doing. We trust that the plane is safe, right? We don't have any control, but we do have high certainty, so we can deal with it, right? There are some people who are up here when they fly because they feel a lot. That might be the pilot. The pilot probably has a lot of control, right? If he's confident in himself and he has a sense of high control. So that would be the pilot. This would be everybody else on the plane. And what Peter talks about in his book is as soon as there's a turbulence, a little turbulence or a lot of turbulence. Guess what? Everybody on that plane, possibly but the pilot, goes into this quadrant. Low control. Now our certainty is questioned. And this is pain. This is a lot of pain. This is very important for you guys. I would love to see if there's anybody here who wants to take this on. I would be very, very, I agree. If only we had this as middle schoolers. I would be very curious, guys, if any trader here takes this and measures every trade you take up against it. How much certainty do you have? How much control do you have? Now, I would think as a trader, you guys never have control, right? So you have to ask yourself, what is really afoot? Is it control based on your pattern, based on the statistics that you have? Like, I would really be curious if you guys took this into your trading day, what happens for you? All right, what was the other place that he talked about? The sense of when we have high control and low certainty. That likely is when you have your stop losses in place. You have high control because you know you're going to stop out at whatever that specific, point is. And you are also having low certainty. So again, just start to play with this. See if you can take it into your life. See if you can take it into your trading. See what happens. All right, what else did I want to see? I had a couple of other things here I wanted to mention. Oh, he talks about how all of us get taught in grade school, middle school, that if God forbid we ever get on fire or a piece of our clothing gets on fire, what are you supposed to do? I'm not even going to say it. I just want to test the theory that even you younger generation whippersnappers know this. Do you remember the catchphrase they taught us in school? If we ever went on fire. Can anybody remember? It's a 3-word reminder that I remember getting taught. Exactly, Eric. Stop, drop, and roll. That is something all of us have when why did they teach us that? Why did they teach us stop, drop, and roll? Because they know when we get set on fire, if we get set on fire, we're not going to be able to think. We're not going to be able to process, but we all have stop, drop, and roll memorized that the second it happens, everybody stops, drops, and rolls because it's all been conditioned into us. No, it's not instinct, Eric. Maybe it's instinct, but truly, stop, drop, and roll is an intellectual, deeply baked response. Maybe we all knew that instinctively, but honestly, I think that stop, drop, and roll is part of what a lot of people do stop, drop, and roll because they've been so conditioned that is what you do. There are some people, I'm sure, who don't stop, it becomes that way. Exactly. So here's my challenge to you guys. You guys, those who are the regulars here, who have been here for a while, was it Jasmine or was it you, Tina? We were always noticing that I came up with these catchphrases like a riptide. I have emotional pattern recognition. I have all these like hashtags that we've come up with when I'm in here talking about like if what we resist persists, right? We have all these catchphrases. Here's what I put a challenge to all of you guys who are regulars here, and even those who aren't. I want a trader to come up with the equivalent of stop, drop, and roll for you and your trading. When there is any kind of a situation that starts to happen in your trading, yeah, shave the drag. That's it. I forgot that one. Tina, that's one of them. I love it. Thank you so much. I completely forgot about that one. You rock, Tina. You rock. So I want a new hashtag. I want you guys to come up with what the trader's version of stop, drop, and roll should be. And then we're going to make it a meme and we're going to spread it for all traders far and wide. So see if you guys can come up with one as memorable, as short and powerful as stop, drop, and roll for traders. That's my challenge. All I kept thinking of when I saw that stop, drop, and roll, I was like, damn, traders need their own version of a stop, drop, and roll. And what should it be? That is your homework. All 10 of you who are listening. All right. What else? Me here now could be it. But I kind of feel like it needs to be something more specific. All right. I'm coming to the close. I haven't had really, I mean, you guys have been awesome at comments, but if anybody has anything they want to get coaching on, feel free to throw that in the chat box before I depart. I got 5 minutes, guys, and I got to write my newsletter. Shave the drag, Tina. Good job. That's so funny. It's a good one, isn't it? I love it. That's what this is all about, guys. Don't blow up. That's good, Shane. That's good, but it might be too generic and too general. But that's a good one. Don't blow up, but we need something that's actionable, right? Don't blow up is philosophical. I mean, it's literal too. But I like stop, drop, and roll is also, has texture to it. It's an action. We need an action. Like, don't blow up is what not to do. What do they need to do? That's what we want to figure out. What is the doing? What is the doing? I think this is going to be tricky, but boy, the person who comes up with it will be a hero. I wonder who came up with stop, drop, and roll. It's probably some plan, stop, walk. Interesting tale. What do you think for that one, guys? Plan, stop, walk. I like it. I think that's pretty good, Dale. I think it's pretty good. I think we have to have a handful to make our decision. If this is going to be, lasting for generations and decades, we have to do. Notice, stop, access. Ooh, I like that. This is good. You guys are working on it. This is good. I like it. All right, stop, plan, stop, walk. And I'm going to write them down. Notice, stop. Stop is in here twice. I like that. So I think stop has got to stay. And then access. But this kind of mindset and this kind of thinking, guys, is critical because it's going to make you be able to potentially take action in spite of being triggered. And this is pretty, assess. Okay, assess, Tina. Understood. Assess. I like that. That's really great. Okay, stop. Notice, stop, assess. Got it. Got it. All right. This is good, guys. Be on the lookout for this and look at yourself when you're trading. What is the self-talk? What are the neutral words you can potentially say to yourself? So, all right, let me know if you guys do dive into this book. Listen to the conversation I had with him today. Listen to what was it? Did I say it was episode? Let me double check here. Episode 83, where he talks about confidence-driven decision making. Peter also talks about music and how music also is a tell on what's happening. The other quote that you'll see in my conversation with him today is he says, if we feel it, we search it, meaning Google. If we're feeling something, we will Google it, the collective. And that also can give us insight into what the collective is feeling or thinking, which again is, how can that not serve you guys as traders, right? It really, his way of looking at the world, this is a very, very smart man. But I have to tell you guys, his book is without jargon. It is so clear. It is so mind altering because it helps us really see things. Music can be used in coaching too. I know a few coaches that do. Yes, I have no doubt, Eric, that music has a huge impact. But what he's talking about is the popularity of what's in the culture. So he talked about how what was the artist who sang the happy song? That happy song, like where I don't remember the guy's name, but it was like, happy, and I'm happy. It's like happy. He's like, that song was the height of the hubris, right? The culture. Like as soon as he heard that that song was gaining popularity, he knew he had probably come to the end of that invincible feeling, and that we probably were on our way to a correction, which was 2008 and that correction. And then he talks about like how the popularity of Taylor Swift, Pharrell Williams, thank you, fashion, the same thing, Thomas. He talks about fashion, he talks about music, he talks about the culture, how the culture is predicting things, how even the finance, talking heads, like right now it's all doom and gloom, and everything is going to hell in a handbasket, which tells him we're already at the end of the doom and gloom, and now it's going to all start to lift up. So it's just fascinating listening to him. I just feel like it's just so powerful. So anyway, I really hope you guys, because I'm happy, right? That's that song, right? That was at the end of a bull market, but we don't see it there at all, and that's part of the challenge. Yep. All right, guys, I'm going to shut it down there. You're awesome. I think you guys are phenomenal, and I'm so glad you were all here today. And I thank you for just being part of this community. It's so much fun. I have such a good time with you guys. I really do, every single time. Subliminal commercials too lately in a bad way drive choices. Absolutely true. So true. All right, guys, let me know how this was for you. Please leave comments on YouTube. That helps a lot. And please spread the word about these lives so that we can build our community and shave the drag. Right, Tina? Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys soon. And I'm sending you guys much aloha.